Vanderpump Rules was never about friendship or love. It's about who monetizes their breakdowns the fastest. There are few cultural experiences more perversely rewarding than watching Vanderpump Rules pretend it's about a restaurant. The sexy, unique restaurant has long ceased to be anything but a stage set for human regression, an air-conditioned gladiator pit where narcissists in Prada stab each other with confessional interviews. But even amid a decade of deceit and performative breakdowns, few moments capture the show's grotesque comedy of self-delusion, quite like Randall Emmett ordering 2 fried chicken dinners and somehow believing that made him impressive. Randall, a self-styled film producer with the cinematic taste of a mall investor, epitomizes the show's central paradox: men who believe money is character, and women who mistake access for affection. His dynamic with Jax Taylor, equal parts bromance, cocaine speculation, and financial farce, was a masterclass in mutual desperation. When Randall excused himself from dinner to go to the bathroom and Jax jumped up to follow, one could almost hear the invisible soundtrack of suspicious sniffing. Whether or not substances were involved is beside the point. The optics were incriminating enough. The pair behaved less like friends and more like co-conspirators in a mid-tier crime drama, united by poor impulse control and mutual self-importance. It's tempting to call their relationship tragic, but tragedy requires dignity. Randall's double order of fried chicken, no bun, as if that detail somehow restored health or taste, was less about appetite than performance. It was the cuisine equivalent of his personality: excessive, greasy, and desperate for validation. Watching Lala Kent sit beside him, visibly repulsed yet dutifully devoted, was a study in televised self-deception. The disgust in her eyes betrayed the quiet calculation beneath every "I love you." Affection was simply another form of barter, and she was an expert trader. Jax, meanwhile, wept on his podcast about money Randall allegedly owed him, as if the man who once demanded money by Monday from 50 Cent could be intimidated by a former Sir bartender. The poetic justice of Jax whining about unpaid debts after a career built on emotional theft was almost too rich. His reward, naturally, was a groomsman slot in Randall's sham wedding narrative, the kind of hollow honor that only exists between men who mistake shared vices for loyalty. The running joke about cast-wide cocaine usage is hardly slander. It's more like stating the weather. The show's rhythm practically depended on it. In a universe where every argument begins at a scream and ends with a tear-streaked "we're like family," the stimulant energy was unmistakable. The pasta yit euphemism became both legend and confession, a winking acknowledgement that Bravo's cameras were always one bathroom break away from capturing the truth. Viewers didn't need confirmation. The manic pacing and dilated eyes did the talking. But the real intoxication wasn't chemical, it was moral. Watching these people destroy themselves for proximity to relevance offered a high all its own. The scenes between Randall, Lala, Jax, and Brittany were less about food or friendship and more about ritual humiliation disguised as bonding. Brittany, perpetually chirping and southernly sweet, clung to her role as Jax's redeemer. Yet her optimism read like denial in a sequined dress. "He's changed," she insisted, every season, as though repetition could make it true. What she called love was more accurately brand loyalty to a franchise built on male entitlement. Honest Villain's genius of Vanderpump Rules lies in its ability to make dishonesty look like authenticity. Everyone on the show performs sincerity so aggressively that it feels almost genuine. Jax, perpetually red-faced and shouting, convinces himself that volume equals vulnerability. Lala, weaponizing her trauma with influencer precision, markets her sobriety as a redemption arc without ever developing empathy. Even Lisa Vanderpump, the matriarch who presides like a benevolent duchess over her band of self-destructive peasants, treats accountability as a decor choice. Every season, the audience is invited to mistake exposure for evolution. When Randall and Jax bonded over broasted chicken and mutual deceit, the show presented it not as an ethical collapse, but as character development. When Lala publicly declared her independence after years of gold-plated servitude, Viewers were meant to applaud her strength while ignoring the transactional foundation of her self-esteem. The series has always been less about transformation than about endurance, the ability to commit the same mistakes, louder in better lighting. The double chicken order became a kind of accidental metaphor for the show's moral diet: empty calories, fried in vanity, served without irony. Lala's disgust was both genuine and performative, disgust at him, but also at herself for needing him. In that moment, she embodied Vanderpump Rules in its purest form: contempt married to dependence. Everyone hates everyone else, but no one can afford to leave the table. Brittany's arc fits the same template. Her decision to pursue Jax, a man whose fidelity lasted roughly as long as a commercial break, wasn't naivete. It was opportunism disguised as devotion. She didn't walk into a pussy palace by accident. She signed the lease and bought throw pillows. The irony is that, in this world, self-awareness would actually ruin the fun. If Brittany had recognized Jax as the sociopathic mascot he is, the show would have lost one of its most reliable storylines: the eternal return of the forgiven cheater. By the time the show reached its later seasons, every moral failure came with a podcast. Lala's sobriety, though undoubtedly difficult, quickly became a commercial venture. Her honesty about addiction was recited like sponsored content, her amends packaged for public consumption. When she revealed to Raquel that she had slept with James during his relationship, it wasn't contrition. It was a storyline. The justification was pure performance. It happened long ago. I'm sober now. Therefore, I'm absolved. The ethics of timing and empathy never entered the conversation. What makes Lala's recovery so hollow isn't the sobriety itself, but the lack of emotional growth that followed it. She quit drinking, but she never quit self-importance. Her version of healing is simply a new hierarchy: sobriety as moral superiority, as though not drinking grants immunity from accountability. The result is what recovering communities call a dry drunk. Sober, but spiritually unchanged. For Lala, it's not recovery, it's rebranding. The brilliance of Vanderpump Rules lies in how it commodifies dysfunction. Every betrayal, breakdown, or drunken disaster becomes raw material for another season. Randall's debt, Jax's tears, Lala's faux redemption, they're all products to be packaged, sold, and recycled. Even the show's discussions of addiction and abuse are edited not for compassion, but for continuity. The audience isn't asked to empathize. They're asked to stay tuned. And stay tuned they do, because the show is a mirror. Distorted, exaggerated, but familiar. Everyone knows a Lala who calls cruelty honesty, a Jax who mistakes charisma for character, a Brittany who confuses loyalty with martyrdom. Watching them implode offers catharsis, proof that other people are worse. It's schadenfreude with subtitles and designer handbags. At the center of the chaos stands Lisa Vanderpump, the show's sainted madam, serving champagne absolution with a British accent. She dispenses wisdom to the women and indulgence to the men, a pattern as consistent as her pink blazers. James Kennedy can verbally abuse women for years and still be invited back to the party. Tom Sandoval can cheat, lie, and posture, and she'll offer him another business deal. Meanwhile, women who retaliate or even raise their voices are swiftly labeled unstable or ungrateful. Lisa's moral compass spins exclusively toward profit. She defends men not because she believes in them, but because they make better television. In her universe, male volatility is charming. Female volatility is unbecoming. She presides over her kingdom of chaos not as a feminist icon, but as a monarch of selective accountability, a woman who mistakes enabling for elegance. To watch Vanderpump Rules is to witness a masterclass in how to appear self-aware without ever becoming it. The cast performs introspection like a ritual, confessing sins they have no intention of abandoning. Every apology is a negotiation, every redemption a marketing strategy. They are, in their own perverse way, disciplined, dedicated to maintaining dysfunction as lifestyle branding. The irony is that, in the world of VPR, authenticity doesn't mean being honest. It means being consistent in your dishonesty. Jax can be a pathological liar as long as he's the same liar every season. Lala can weaponize her trauma as long as she delivers it with good lighting. Randall can masquerade as a mogul as long as his delusions are entertaining. In this ecosystem, growth is death. Consistency is currency. The dinner table scene, Randall, Jax, Brittany, and Lala, remains one of the show's most unintentionally profound moments. 4 people, each pretending to admire the others while silently calculating status and survival, sharing fried chicken like it's communion. It is the moral heart of Vanderpump Rules: indulgence without irony, performance without pause. What began as a show about restaurant workers has become a case study in televised self-immolation. These aren't characters seeking redemption. They're professionals in perpetual relapse, spiritually, emotionally, sometimes chemically. Their tragedy isn't that they fail to change, but that they no longer know they should. The fried chicken may have been overcooked, but the metaphor was perfect. Everything on this show is breaded in delusion and served with a side of denial. And as long as viewers keep tuning in, the kitchen of chaos will never close. The beauty of Vanderpump Rules is that it never pretends to be spontaneous. It is reality television's most carefully choreographed car crash. Its cast assembled like dolls in a morality play written by a particularly malicious sociologist. Every person fits a designated role: the ingenue, the villain, the martyr, the clown. The result isn't chaos. It's casting calculus disguised as coincidence. In Season 1, Shay entered as the sacrificial new girl, a hostess imported from Villa Blanca, like an exotic fish tossed into a shark tank. Her purpose wasn't narrative, but symbolic. She was the perfect outsider through whose humiliation viewers could learn the hierarchy of sewer. In the same way that Mean Girls needed a Katie Heron, Vanderpump Rules needed a Scheana to be chewed up by Stassi and Kristen's social machine. Every sneer, every bless your heart insult, every passive-aggressive toast was a line in a script no one admitted they were reading. Lisa Vanderpump herself is the architect of this ecosystem, a woman who understands that cruelty, when served in couture, reads as leadership. She is both impresario and apologist, queen and janitor, sweeping up after her hand-picked monsters while pretending to scold them. Her establishments, Sir Tom Tom Pump, are less restaurants than stages. And like any theater, the casting is intentional. The men are chosen for volatility, liars who believe their charm is character development. The women are selected for emotional stamina, the ability to cry beautifully under ring light while still showing up for their shift. Lisa presides over this cast as a benevolent dictator whose moral compass always points toward ratings. The sins of men are learning experiences. The sins of women are career-ending. It's the oldest patriarchal script, rewritten in pink font and aired at 9 p.m. on Bravo. When Stassi, Schroeder, and Kristen Doute were fired for racist behavior, the timing was corporate, not moral. Lisa's sudden discovery of conscience coincided perfectly with public pressure. Until then, her defense of abusers and manipulators had been relentless. James Kennedy was a young man with potential. Scandoval was passionate. Jax was misunderstood. Lisa's feminism extends only as far as it flatters her brand. She doesn't lead women, she curates them. Every woman on Vanderpump Rules eventually learns that survival depends on branding one's trauma. Stassi packaged her cruelty as honesty. Lala markets her sobriety as virtue. Katie Maloney rebrands her disillusionment as empowerment. Even Kristen, once the franchise's designated hysteric, re-emerged as a symbol of growth through apology tours and podcast confessions. But it's all theater. Their self-reflection begins and ends with camera time. Accountability lasts until the next storyline requires a relapse. A public apology is a press release with mascara stains. To the audience, it reads as redemption. To Bravo, it's marketing. Lala's case remains the most exquisite example of this industrialized repentance. Her declaration of sobriety was framed as a spiritual awakening, but it functioned as a rebrand. Sobriety became a halo, proof that she was not like the other villains, even as she continued to behave like one. Her dismissive, "get over it was years ago" attitude toward the pain she inflicted on others revealed the rot beneath the reform. She wasn't sober from alcohol. She was drunk on self-righteousness. The term dry drunk fits her perfectly. Chemically abstinent, emotionally intoxicated. Her recovery story became a performance of morality without substance, an Instagram caption masquerading as introspection. The spectacle of her amends with Raquel was a masterclass in how not to apologize. Flippant, defensive, and choreographed for camera angles. She didn't seek forgiveness. She sought applause. The hypocrisy of the show's moral universe lies in its gender economics. Men are allowed to fail spectacularly. Women are expected to fail beautifully. Jax cheats, lies, and rages his way through a decade of episodes and still receives a redemption arc. Scandoval stages a full-scale emotional Ponzi scheme, and Lisa offers him business opportunities. Meanwhile, women who cry too loudly or forgive too slowly are labeled toxic. The double standard is baked into every frame. When James Kennedy screams obscenities, Lisa scolds him like a naughty son. When Katie expresses anger, she's negative. The system rewards male chaos and punishes female fatigue. It's no coincidence that Lisa's softest spot is reserved for men who remind her of her younger business partners. Fit, loud, and slightly sociopathic. She calls it mentorship. Others might call it indulgence. This dynamic reached its absurd peak when the show's moral outrage turned towards Stassi and Kristen's firing, while the men's long histories of abuse and manipulation remained footnotes. Lisa's sudden moral clarity felt less like progress and more like PR triage. As one observer noted, she only condemns men when it's profitable. Her loyalty to James Kennedy, who spent seasons terrorizing women, proved that LVP really stands for liability value protection. If the men on VPR are cartoon devils, the women are tragic heroines in varying stages of moral decay. But as the series evolved, a subtler kind of villain emerged, the nice girl. Scheana, Lala, Brittany, and Raquel perfected this act, a blend of saccharine self-pity and strategic weaponization. They cry prettily, apologize loudly, and resume backstabbing immediately. It's not that they're worse than the men, it's that they pretend not to be. These women present themselves as victims of the men's brutality while quietly perpetuating it in softer tones. They gossip under the guise of concern, betray under the flag of empowerment, and always find a way to make themselves the center of the wound. They are emotional contortionists, capable of transforming cruelty into martyrdom before the commercial break. One might call them monsters hiding in plain sight, less overtly villainous than Jax or Scandoval, but infinitely more insidious, because their weapon is empathy, not aggression. They understand that in the court of public opinion, tears are currency. And in Bravo's economy, crying pays better than accountability. For all its champagne-soaked posturing, Vanderpump Rules is a masterclass in faux feminism. The show sells strong women while systematically humiliating them. Every female friendship is a minefield of betrayal packaged as empowerment. Each girls' night devolves into public character assassination over cocktails. The producers pretend it's about solidarity. The audience knows it's blood sport. Even the supposed feminist moments are drenched in irony. When Lisa offers business ventures to Sandoval and Schwartz, but not to Katie or Ariana, it's framed as pragmatism. When she finally toasts Ariana's sandwich shop, it feels less like support and more like damage control. Her empire depends on beautiful women suffering publicly under the illusion of choice. Ariana Madix herself embodies this paradox. The audience mourned her heartbreak after Scandoval, forgetting that she once entered the show as the other woman. Moral amnesia is Bravo's favorite plot device. The show rewards short memories and punishes reflection. Viewers were invited to pity Ariana as the wounded saint, while ignoring that she inherited her throne the same way every queen on this show does, through another woman's tears. The cast's endless arguments about who's authentic and who's fake reveal the show's guiding theology. Conflict is truth. Resolution, on the other hand, is bad television. Hence the constant cycle of betrayal, apology, relapse, and reunion. Each season functions like a liturgical calendar. Easter for apologies, Lent for bad behavior, Christmas for public humiliation. The show even produces its own commandments. Thou shalt confess only on camera. Thou shalt not grow without an audience. Thou shalt weaponize vulnerability when convenient. Every tear is a tithe. Every podcast is scripture. The cast worships at the altar of relevance, and Lisa is their high priestess. Her blessing guarantees camera time. Her disfavor guarantees exile. No one leaves Sir. They're excommunicated. By season 8, VPR became a parody of its own narrative. The cast, now self-conscious reality veterans, began to reference their archetypes openly. They joked about being the villain, discussed storylines, and plotted feuds like chess matches. What was once accidental absurdity became deliberate performance. Yet somehow, the show retained its power, because even its awareness was shallow. These people know how they're seen, but not why. They understand the optics of accountability, but not the ethics. When Lala boasts about her growth, she's referring to Instagram engagement, not empathy. When Scandoval sobs about being misunderstood, he's rehearsing. The line between manipulation and performance has long since dissolved. It's all just screen time. Below Lisa's throne sits a hierarchy built on exposure. The longer one lasts on screen, the higher the social currency. Stassi's exit created room for Lala's rebrand. Raquel's humiliation gave birth to Ariana's hero arc. The cast feeds on each other's storylines like emotional cannibals. Each woman's downfall is another's redemption tour. Meanwhile, Bravo executives reap the spoils, monetizing chaos under the banner of empowerment. Viewers are offered the illusion of moral superiority, at least I'm not that toxic, while contributing to the same voyeuristic cycle. The show is less about who's right or wrong and more about who's watchable. In this morality market, integrity is the only currency without value. It would be almost admirable if it weren't so predictable. Lisa presents herself as the benevolent boss who believes in second chances, but her mercy is transactional. She forgives men because they make money. She fires women because they make headlines. She has known James Kennedy since childhood, and that familiarity excuses a multitude of sins. Yet when Kristen spirals, Lisa calls her hopeless. The selective compassion is staggering but profitable. Her empire is built on contradictions. She runs dog charities while enabling human cruelty, lectures about loyalty while selling out friendships for sponsorships, and praises integrity while hiring whichever morally bankrupt bartender photographs best. If Lisa Vanderpump represents glamour, it's the kind that smells faintly of bleach and denial. There comes a Conliade in every Bravo devotee's life when the champagne fizz of Vanderpump Rules goes flat and the moral hangover begins. The camera pans, the cast ages, the Botox settles, and one realizes that this isn't merely a television show. It's a closed ecosystem of mutual exploitation. When the lights dim at Sur, they flicker on elsewhere in the Bravo multiverse. The Valley, Southern Charm, Summer House, Below Deck. The same sins, different lighting. The Valley was marketed as Vanderpump Rules, Adulthood Edition, a peek at domesticity for the once wild Surverse. Instead, it exposed a darker truth. You can take the cast out of the restaurant, but you can't remove the rot. Marriage, mortgages, and motherhood only intensified their narcissism. The partying was replaced by passive-aggressive dinner parties, the affairs by emotional blackmail about the children. It's VPR and suburban drag, less glitter, more resentment. Bravo's genius lies in its recycling program. Every scandal spawns a spin-off. The audience follows each new franchise as if chasing ghosts of chaos past. Southern Charm offers genteel misogyny and seersucker. Summer House turns alcoholism into Airbnb marketing. Below Deck floats the same moral decay on international waters. The network's executives don't produce shows. They cultivate petri dishes of dysfunction, then sell the mold as entertainment. Each series promises insight into human behavior, yet all deliver the same equation. Put attractive narcissists in confined spaces, add alcohol, and wait for the moral fabric to combust. What differs is the decor. Whether it's Charleston porches or yacht decks, the architecture of vanity remains identical. The viewers, ourselves included, are complicit voyeurs pretending to be anthropologists. We don't watch to learn, we watch to compare. Each episode offers a low-stakes morality play where the audience gets to feel evolved simply by disapproval. The formula is intoxicating. Condemn loudly, empathize selectively, repeat weekly. When fans discuss who deserves forgiveness, Ariana, Kristen, or whomever currently holds the halo, they mimic the same performative judgment that fuels the cast's behavior. The outrage is ritualistic, the empathy conditional. Viewers become what they critique, self-righteous, fickle, and hungry for drama. This is the psychological sleight of hand Bravo performs best. It invites its audience to scorn the narcissists while feeding in on the same narcissism. Each spin-off extends the illusion of choice. Watch something new, but never escape the pattern. Among the women of Vanderpump Rules, none embody the franchise's spiritual circularity better than Kristen Doughty and Katie Maloney. Kristen is the patron saint of public breakdowns, the first martyr of Bravo's moral revolution. Her reign of chaos, infidelity, tears, and the legendary tabletop collapse in Solvang cemented her as both villain and victim. Katie, forever oscillating between righteous fury and moral fatigue, played the Greek chorus reminding everyone that accountability is a full-time job she rarely practices herself. Their friendship, forged in trauma and Chardonnay, symbolizes the show's larger theology: repentance without reformation. Every betrayal ends in a brunch, every apology in a toast. Kristen's public implosions became narrative gold precisely because she never learned. She merely rotated the cast of people she disappointed. In another medium, this might be tragedy. In Bravo's world, it's continuity. The cast's emotional lives are managed like assets. Sobriety arcs, divorces, miscarriages, and infidelities become currency for renewal contracts. Pain must pay dividends. When Lala weeps about motherhood, when Ariana sells merch emblazoned with something about her, when Jax cries about betrayal for the 15th time, these are not moments of catharsis, but product placements of suffering. Even the language of therapy has been commodified. Boundaries, healing, growth, all wielded like designer accessories. Bravo's editors know exactly when to cut to a tear-streaked confessional and when to intersperse the B-roll of someone ordering another round of tequila. Redemption sells, but relapse reruns better. The Scandoval saga in Season 10 should have been the show's death knell. Instead, it was its resurrection. America loves nothing more than a cheater who thinks he's profound. Tom Sandoval's self-mythologizing affair with Raquel, complete with late-night guitar sessions and delusional monologues about connection, was a cultural event precisely because it was so absurdly sincere. His attempt to script his own redemption narrative in real time was Shakespearean, if Shakespeare had written about hair-gelled bartenders with delusions of artistry. Raquel, meanwhile, giggled through the scandal as though starring in a parody she didn't understand. Her complete lack of remorse wasn't villainy, it was vacancy. She believed herself to be the heroine of a love story, unaware she'd been cast as a footnote. Their affair exposed the show's enduring thesis: self-awareness is neither prerequisite nor deterrent for public humiliation. The spectacle reignited VPR's dying viewership, confirming that moral collapse is the franchise's most renewable resource. For Bravo, infidelity is the nuclear energy of reality television, infinitely destructive yet endlessly profitable. The more these series insist on authenticity, the more artificial they become. Every new addition to the Bravo roster arrives pre-trained in self-production. Influencers audition as if applying for sainthood, performing relatability with the precision of a sponsored post. Gone are the naive early days when SUR employees accidentally became famous. Now, every newcomer arrives camera-ready, merch line in progress, apology drafted in Notes app. What once felt voyeuristic now feels participatory, a collaboration between narcissist and network. The characters know the beats of scandal better than the editors. They construct their own exposés, leak their own texts, and monetize their own disgrace. Bravo doesn't need to manipulate them anymore. The cast does it themselves. The network merely airs the footage and collects the tithe. Vanderpump Rules began as a reality show about servers in West Hollywood. It has evolved into a dissertation on performative morality in the age of surveillance. The characters' every emotion is mediated through audience expectation. They don't experience feelings, they rehearse them. Apologies are delivered with PR polish, grief is formatted for reels, and even sobriety becomes a marketing demographic. The show reveals a culture obsessed with optics, yet starved of reflection. Every confession booth is a mirror, not a pulpit. The audience doesn't want redemption, it wants reaction. The moral of Vanderpump Rules is that there is no moral, only content. Lisa remains the show's eternal constant, sipping rosé as the empire burns around her. She styles herself as the mother superior of manners, yet her management philosophy could double as a case study in selective blindness. Her affection for Scandoval and Kennedy, serial offenders in emotional misconduct, contrasts neatly with her lifelong disdain for women who answer back. She doesn't mentor, she moderates the optics. Her brand of maternalism is pure performance. She rescues puppies, not people. Every darling she utters conceals a business calculation. When controversy threatens her empire, she morphs from benefactor to bureaucrat, invoking contracts and NDAs with the same flourish she uses for champagne. She has become a caricature of the British moralist, doling out grace to the men who ruin women on her payroll, then selling their redemption in syndication. Lisa's continued survival within the Bravo cosmos is the final proof that charisma trumps conscience. In a universe built on denial, she is both architect and mascot. If the cast are narcissists, the viewers are masochists. We condemn them, then binge them. We analyze every scandal as though writing cultural theory while secretly craving the next. The show's endurance owes less to the cast's antics than to the audience's complicity. We pretend to watch for insight, but stay for the schadenfreude. Bravo has weaponized boredom. It offers a world so chaotic that our own dysfunction looks tidy by comparison. The Bravo addict doesn't watch television. They maintain a parasocial religion. Each franchise provides its own saints and sinners, its own catechism of confessionals. To abandon the network would be apostasy. We're not consuming content, we're participating in a morality play that flatters our cynicism. Every episode ends the same way. Someone raises a glass, swears this time will be different, and the audience nods knowingly. It won't be, it never is. That's the comfort. By now, the original conceit of Vanderpump Rules, restaurant staff navigating love and ambition, exists only as archival footage. What remains is a self-referential satire of reality television itself. The show has become aware of its own decay and decided to monetize it. It's no longer about friendship or betrayal. It's about the performance of both. When cast members debate their own rankings as if drafting fantasy sports teams, they reveal the show's ultimate transformation. Human beings reimagined as content metrics. Who contributes the most drama? Who cries prettiest? Who survives cancellation long enough to launch a candle line? The hierarchy isn't moral, it's algorithmic. In the end, Vanderpump Rules persists because it mirrors the culture that birthed it. We live in an economy that rewards confession over change, noise over nuance, survival over sincerity. The cast members are merely exaggerated reflections of the same impulses driving social media itself. The desperate need to be seen, forgiven, and reposted. SUR may stand for sexy, unique restaurant, but it might as well mean self-undoing reality. Every toast of friendship is a prelude to betrayal. Every redemption arc is a cliffhanger. The series will end only when its cast discovers self-awareness, which is to say, never. So the next time Lisa raises her glass to the best days of our lives, remember that she's right, in her own bleak way. These are the best days of their lives, because the deal will never grow past them. And we faithful congregation of Bravo, will keep tuning in, watching the same sins reheated and served with a side of denial. Because deep down, everyone loves a fried chicken tragedy. Extra crispy, no bun, and endlessly refillable.